Hello and welcome back. Sorry it took me forever. I know I promised I'd have 1 to 2 of these made per day, but I've been trying to get over this cold before I make any videos, as well as I've been working really hard on getting a game engine and like a first public game popped out for me and my fellas to kind of show off. Anyway, well, I say public, but yeah, that's not important. Anyway, so in this tutorial I was going to go over things like arrays and while loops, but I think it would be better to start off with functions. So this is going to be really quick, and it should be fairly easy to digest. So first of all, you should know that void draw and void setup are in fact functions, but they act a little bit differently because they're inside of a class, which you don't need to worry about that. So kind of think of these as not necessarily functions, yet they are. So they're not going to behave exactly the same as the functions we make. Anyway, so to start, the first function that I want to create is a function that draws two ellipses next to each other. Yeah, two ellipses right next to each other. So I'm going to have an int x equals 50 and int y equals 50. I can actually do this and it'll still work. In fact, I think I can do this. Nope, apparently not. Oh wait, I can if I trim that down. But a lot of languages don't let you do that, so I wouldn't get in the habit. I would, yeah, I'll keep them up there like that. So remember, when you're programming statements, you know, like this is a statement, are ended with semicolons. It's not space sensitive. This isn't Python. There's none of that bullshit here. So, yeah, you can group things together in one line if you want. Just, you know, make sure it looks nice. Anyway, so our first function is going to start with void. Most functions start with void. This is having to do with the return type. Don't worry about that now. What are we going to call our function? Why not draw balls? Just for the hell of it. Okay. So it looks a lot like our void draw and our void setup. It basically, we start with the type specifier, which don't worry about that. And then we give it a name. Common practice is to start lowercase on the first word, and then on the preceding words, the first letter should be uppercase, very much like variables. So, and then after that, we put parentheses, and normally we would put arguments inside of there. Well, not normally, but sometimes. If you leave it blank, then, yeah, don't worry about it. I'll go over that in just a second. But then after that, we give it 2 curly braces, and anything that we put inside of these curly braces will basically run. Will be our code. So the purpose of a function is to sort of repeat things, to repeat commands and arguments. So, like I said, we're going to draw 2 ellipses. So, ellipse x, y, 20 by 20. Why not? We're going to draw a second ellipse, x plus 20, y, 20, 20. There we go. Now, if we were to go ahead and run this, you will see that nothing actually happens. This is because while we have declared our function, this is like a blueprint almost, we have not actually used our function. We haven't called it anywhere. So in order to use a function, we must call it, and we would do so like this. Draw balls. Looks a lot like our background, doesn't it? That's because it's pretty much the same thing. So, if we run this, we will see that they in fact do draw. And we can animate both of these balls by doing something like y++. Or, oops, I'm sorry, I haven't gotten over that yet. Y equals, or gets y plus 1. Sorry, I didn't mean to confuse you there. So yeah, so they're both moving at the same time. It's basically as though they're moving as one unit. So, so the reason functions are useful is because you can continuously call the same function and the code's going to run again. Now, even though that we're in fact drawing 4 balls, we only see 2 because they're in the exact same locations. So you're thinking, wait a minute, so how can I make this more modular? How can I make it so that I can sort of give it a set of numbers and it can affect I can give it numbers and variables so that way the function can do something specific towards those. Well, we do that by passing arguments. arguments or parameters. So to do so, we would have int underscore x, int underscore y. Something like this. And what I would do here is I would say plus underscore x plus underscore y. Oops. And do the same down here. There we go. And so you'll see that there's errors on these because when we give it, in our blueprint, in our declaration of the function, when we say that it's going to have a certain set of arguments, when we call it, we have to give it those arguments. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. So I would say something like 0, 0 for this one, and then something like, I don't know, 120. Doesn't really matter. It looks ugly. I'm trimming that. There we go. See? We called the function twice, and we get some interesting functionality out of this. Cool. Sorry about that. So, yeah, so functions are a way to make your code modular. It's a way to repeat code. So if you have a bunch of useful instructions, for example, like you have this function, this wonderful function that moves your game character and, or not your game character, yeah, like your game character, not necessarily your player or whatever, and it's sort of, it knows what to do, it has all the functionality of the same game object thing, then you could slap it all on that function and then call that function multiple times, kind of. Or you're basically, whenever you have a bunch of really complex logic, it's good to slap that in a function categorically, you know, sensically, and then just call it multiple times whenever you need it. So, yeah. So this is the purpose of functions. It is actually quite useful. That will be it for this tutorial. I know it was very short, and I didn't go into a whole lot, especially the void return thing, or, yeah, just don't worry about that for now. I'll get to it when we get there. So yeah, next tutorial is actually going to be about arrays and while loops and things like that. So that way we can use arrays and functions together to create sort of sentient logic, in a sense. We're going to sort of simulate OO, object-oriented style programming, a little bit. Not really, it's still going to be functional, but I'll go over that later. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and see you in the next tutorial.